Hello, my name is Vanessa and welcome to our virtual yoga class. We'll begin class in a seated position. So make your way there or make yourself comfortable in your seat. As you shift into a cross-legged position, notice which leg is most forward and then switch it out. In an effort of balance, we have a tendency to favor different sides or routinely go and move one side more than the other, position one side more than the other. So we're seeking that balance as we begin class. So notice that as you're taking a moment to adjust yourself, it is in itself a process of becoming more present with your body. You're beginning your practice here, checking in with your breath, no judgment of the quality of your breath. You're not breathing to see whether you're breathing incorrectly or correctly. That's not the goal. You're just checking in. You're inhaling, perhaps exhaling, sighing out to help focus more in the body and to feel the pleasurable release physically, mentally, emotionally as you exhale, sigh it out. Throughout the class, we're cultivating body awareness, getting to know our bodies as we work on our flexibility, strength, and balance. We're noticing where our boundaries are, what comes easily, what comes a little bit more difficult. Meanwhile, practicing compassion, non-judgment towards ourselves. We welcome our inhale and exhale, thus welcoming our experience. Choose to keep your eyes open or close your eyes. Be intentional about your decision. If your eyes are open, you're gazing at one point across the floor or the room. A steady gaze is a steady mind. If your eyes are closed, you're inviting a more internal experience, perhaps being aware of different types of sensations now that your eyes are closed. So either choice works. On your next breath, see if you can lengthen your inhale and exhale a little longer than you're accustomed to. On your next breath, inhale here, exhale, sigh it out. Check the length of your spine, seeing if you can lengthen your spine just a little bit, noticing your core active to support you in that long spine. Notice if there's any soreness or tension around the neck or shoulders. Notice if you're holding your shoulders up, you can actually relax them a little bit more. Notice your sit bones on the floor. Those are the bones near your glutes, grounding you on the mat. Take an easy breath, whatever breath is comfortable for you. Notice what's easy or challenging about being still in your body here in the beginning of our practice. Intentional breath. Observing the quality of your breath without judgment. Inhale here, exhale, sigh it out. If your eyes are closed, gently start to open your eyes, hands resting on your knees. Lift your shoulders up towards your ears, drawing them down. Being purposeful here of soft palms on the knee, purposely bringing your shoulder blades closer together as you lift your shoulders up. On that next round, let's lift our shoulders up and forward. It's a little different here. We don't intend to move in this motion. Therefore, it's balancing, lifting our shoulders up towards our ears, drawing them forward. We might cause a little bit of a rounding in the spine by doing so. That's okay. And then after that next round, we're going to lift our hands, take our hands right behind our head. So your elbows are bent. Elbows will naturally shift forward. You want to shift those elbows back. Shoulder blades will come a little closer together. Now, leading through your chest and heart. So full body awareness here. You're noticing your sit bones grounded onto the mat. You're leading with your chest, your heart towards the right, inviting a twist throughout the spine. Right, and now left. You might notice a stretch there in the lower back, mid back. Upper back as well. Shift towards the left, towards the right. Try to keep your elbows wide. Leading through your chest, your heart, grounding through your sit bones, full body awareness. And after a few rounds there, release. Now take your left hand on top of your right knee, twist towards the right. Your chin shifts towards your right shoulder. Hold, and then release. Right hand on your left knee. You're using that grip to intensify the twist. Twist towards the left, chin shifts towards your left shoulder. Hold. Take a comfortable breath. Release, come back to center. Shoulders up towards your ears, draw them back once. Shoulders up towards your ears, draw them forward once. Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead, palms up. Stretching throughout the length of your arms, activating around your torso as well. We're going to shift towards the left. Hold here, sit bones grounded on the floor. Chin is neutral. You can take your gaze down towards the floor. And make sure that you're not craning your neck up. And then back to center, opposite side now. Don't forget your breath. Invite a comfortable breath here. Come back to center, round your spine, tuck your chin towards your chest, palms towards the front. Inhale here. Exhale and release. Both soles of the feet touch. We're going to start to shift the stretch into the lower body. Knees are bent. Lead down with your chest, your heart. About 5 breaths here. You don't necessarily have to count the breaths. Notice where you naturally stop. Breathe into what's opening up for you and fold just a little bit more. Inhale. Exhale. Fold a little bit more. Feel that breath that begins at the belly, where your belly expands as you inhale. One more breath, inhale here, exhale, sigh it out. Release the pose. Start to lengthen your legs out in a V. Invite a little bend to your knee. We're going to focus on each leg separately, and then we're going to fold down in the middle. So keep that in mind. That's one of your goals. Now we're going to twist a little bit towards the right, towards your right foot. If you want a very intense stretch, you flex that foot. Otherwise, you relax that foot. Invite a little bend to that knee. And now fold, leading through your chest, your heart. Think about that final fold when we're going to stretch down the middle. I'm going to focus here mostly on your hamstrings, but you're also noticing stretches in the hips and glutes, down to the calves. Few breath cycles here. Intentional breathing to explore that boundary. Inhale. And exhale. Release. Opposite side, twist towards the left, leading through your chest, your heart. You're going to invite a little bend to that right knee. Fold. Breathe into your boundary. Don't forget that deep belly breath. Inhale. Exhale. Release. Now, as we inch forward, a little bend to those knees, just take your hands forward and just inch forward, leading through your chest and heart as you fold to see how far you can reach your hands. Elbows might even come onto the floor. Hold. Inhale. Exhale. One more cycle of breath. Inhale. Exhale. Release the pose. We'll shift into our tabletop. Take a couple of cat and cow poses. Hands are beneath our shoulders, knees or hips width distance apart. You're moving at your own pace here. You're noticing your fingertips and palms, length of your spine, from the neck all the way down to the tailbone. Move with your breath, inhaling up. Exhale, rounding your spine. Take about one more round. And then you'll come back to a neutral tabletop. Lengthen your right leg, bend your knee, stack your hips and hold. And now both chin and knee shift towards your chest. You're rounding your spine. Hover here. And now drop your knee onto the floor. Opposite side, lift your left leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. You're opening here. Lower back, glute, hip. Stretching here in the quad as well. We're gonna round our spine, chin and knee towards chest. Release your knee onto the floor. Inhale up, cow pose. Exhale, round your spine, cat pose. Tuck your chin towards your chest. And now take your knees towards the edges of your mat. Gonna shift down into this resting pose or child's pose, taking a moment of pause before the more active portion of class. Inhaling, receiving anything that supports you. Exhaling, releasing anything that doesn't. Powerful inhale and exhale. I'm gonna ground your palms onto the mat. I'm gonna go ahead and shift back up into our tabletop. Press our left hand onto the mat. Lift our right arm up towards the ceiling. Hold. Shifting in that right shoulder back. Lengthen your arm and release. Opposite side, lift your left arm. I'm shifting that left shoulder back. Lengthening and reaching out with that left arm, hand, and then release. We'll come up into our downward facing dog. We're in that upside down V, pressing through our palms. Our chest shifts towards our thighs. Breathe into your hamstrings. Generous breath. Your body is active here in your down dog and now plank pose. Generous breath in that plank pose. You're lifting your core up towards the ceiling. Hands are beneath your shoulders. Glutes, quads, core are active, supporting you. Take an even breath. Release down towards the floor. Tops of the feet are on the floor. You're lifting up into an upward facing dog. Be careful with your lower back. Glutes are engaged to support you. Shoulders are away from your ears. Curl your toes. Downward facing dog. Invite a generous breath in that down dog. We're going to move through a second round. Hold your plank pose. Glutes and quads, core active. You're inviting a generous breath. We're holding our plank pose, just an extra breath. Release down towards the floor, elbows close to your torso. Inhale up into your upward facing dog. Upward facing dog is invigorating. There's a lot of rush of energy, a lot of openness in this pose. Curl your toes to lift up into your downward facing dog. If you need to pedal your feet back and forth in that down dog, go ahead and do that. Third round from downward facing dog, plank pose. Elbows close to your torso as you release down towards the floor. Inhale up, upward facing dog. And then in your own time, come up into your downward facing dog. Lift your right leg, bend your knees, stack your hips and hold here. Right knee now towards that right elbow, hover, core lifts up towards the ceiling. Generous breath, lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Now right knee towards your left elbow, hover, inhale, exhale. Lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips, hold. Release your foot down towards the floor. Generous breath here. Your body is active. Now lift your left leg, bend your left knee, stack your hips. Left knee towards your left elbow. You're hovering. Lots of core strength here. Lift your leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. And now left knee towards that right elbow. Hover here. And then release or lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Release your foot back down towards the floor. Plank pose. Release down towards the floor. Inhale up, upward facing dog. Come up to your downward facing dog. Invite 3 generous breaths in your downward facing dog. Invite a second cycle of breath. And the third cycle of breath. Take your gaze between your hands. Walk or jump up to that forward fold. Hands to shins. We're going to inhale halfway up. Exhale, release. Let's sweep our arms up overhead. Noticing both palms come to touch. We're going to take 3 breaths here. Centering ourselves with our breath, welcoming our experience through our breath. We inhale and exhale for the day we've had so far. We take a breath for this moment. We take an inhale and exhale for the rest of our day. Inhale, exhale, release your hands. Interlace your fingers, bring your shoulder blades closer together. Bend your knees, fold down, forward fold. Elbows shoot out behind you, remain here. Either palms touch or they don't. Neck is relaxed. Hands to your knees, inhale halfway up. Your back is flat. You're softening and relaxing your head as you fold down. Inhale halfway up. Exhale, release, third round. Inhale halfway up. Exhale, release. Your choice how you come up to standing. You can roll up slowly or sweep your arms up overhead, either which way. Hands in front of your heart center. Inhale. Exhale. Release. We'll prepare now for our warrior 2. We're taking our left foot forward and taking our right leg back. Our right foot is in a diagonal. We notice our knee, and then we just bend our knee to make sure it's at about a 90-degree angle. There's a natural opening in the hips here. Left arm over your left thigh, right arm behind you. So both arms are parallel to the floor. Take your gaze over that left hand. Your legs are active. Scissors attempting to close, but they can't. You're imagining a line of energy from one fingertip to the opposite fingertip. You're grounded with your heels. Lots of strength, focus, and stability in this pose. Hips are open, core is active, chest is open. Invite a nice even breath here. Release that right hand behind your thigh. Lift your left arm up. Strengthening throughout the lower back, stretching throughout the left side of the torso. Keep a bend to your knee. Back to center, inhale. Exhale. Imagine you're gonna hold a ball between your hands. You're gonna swing that right arm over, hold. Sink into that left hip for some extra support. And now release your elbow right on top of your thigh. Reach your right arm up towards the ceiling. You can take your gaze up towards the ceiling, or you can drop your gaze down towards the floor. Reach up with that right hand. Keep a bend to that left knee. And now drop both hands onto the floor. Now you're focusing on your left hip, left glute, left hamstring. Relax your neck, relax your head. Inhale. Exhale. Deep belly breath, sink into that left hip. Start to pivot that right foot. So now you're in a low lunge. Check your hands, making sure your hands are beneath your shoulders. Press that right hand onto the floor as you lift your left arm up towards the ceiling. Optional if you prefer to release that right knee onto the floor. Hold. Release your left hand, step back, plank pose. Take your vinyasa. We meet at our downward facing dog. Inhale. Exhale. Take your gaze between your hands. Walk or jump up to that forward fold. Hands to shins. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release. Your choice how you come to standing. Be intentional about how you come to standing. Anytime you're lifting up to standing is a good time to regroup. Invite awareness of your breath. Continuously throughout the class, you're practicing arriving to this moment. This is something you cultivate, you're not naturally good at. Eyes open or closed. Welcome your breath. And we'll invite some intentional deep breaths as we explore our warrior two. Allow that breath to assist you as you're working on that strength, flexibility. When you're noticing that focus in this pose. Left foot behind you, left foot in a diagonal. Bring that bend to that right knee. Hips are naturally open here. Warrior two, both arms are parallel to the floor. Take your gaze over that right hand. See if you can keep your gaze steady on one point. Check in with your breath. Check in with your hips. Check in with your heels. Steady breath. Release your left hand behind your thigh. Lift your right arm up. Lower body stretch here. Stretch throughout the torso. Inhale. Exhale. Come back to center. Keep your gaze over that right hand. Inhale. Exhale. Imagine you're going to hold that ball between your hand. Left arm swings over. You sink into that right hip. Keep a bend to that right knee. Core is active. Hips are open. Release down towards the floor. Hands on the floor. You can lengthen that right knee. Please be mindful of your neck, your head. They're relaxed here as you're focusing on that right hip, right glute, hamstrings, behind that right knee. Breathe into the stretch. Sink into that right hip. Inhale. Exhale, pivot that left foot. So now you're in a low lunge. You have the option of keeping that left leg extended or dropping your knee onto the floor. Left hand is beneath your shoulder. Lift your right arm up towards the ceiling. You're lengthening that arm. Apply some extra pressure onto that right heel to lift your right hip a little bit more. Generous breath. You're using full body strength. Release your hand onto the floor. Shift back into a plank pose. Take your vinyasa. Tops of the feet onto the floor in that upward facing dog. Lift up, downward facing dog. Generous breath. Inhale. Exhale. Take your gaze between your hands. Walk or jump up to that forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale. Release. Sweep your arms up overhead. Hands in front of your heart center. Invite a generous breath. Inhale. Exhale. Sun salutation. Release your hands. Inhale, arms lift. Exhale, bend down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, step back, plank pose. Release down towards the floor. Inhale up, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. In your down dog, we'll take that sequence, lifting our right leg, bending our knees, stacking our hips. And our right knee towards that right elbow, hover. Lift your leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. Right knee towards your left elbow, hover. Lift your leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. Generous breath. Release your foot back down towards the floor. Generous breath, and then opposite side. Lift your left leg, bend your left knee, stack your hips. Left knee towards that left elbow. Lift your leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. Knee towards your right elbow, hover, core active. Press through your palms as you lift your leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. Release your foot back down towards the floor and then shift down into a child's pose. Notice that influx of energy in the body. Take a supportive breath. If you have trouble concentrating, arriving to this moment, just lengthen your inhale and exhale a little longer than you're accustomed to. A few more breaths in your child's pose. Notice it takes practice to appreciate these moments of pause, purposely softening the body. Take a generous breath, perhaps inhaling here, exhaling, sighing out. Start to shift out of your child's pose into a tabletop. Just take one round of the cow and cat pose, protecting our spine here. Chin moves towards your chest. Hold here in your cat pose. Separate those shoulder blades. And then release. Come to sit on the floor. Now we're gonna come into a pose here. You're gonna take your right foot out. So it's on the mat. Right foot on the mat. Left knee will be in front of you. So go ahead and make any adjustments here to make sure that left knee is perhaps in line with your belly button. Now you can remain here, or you can open up your hips further by stacking your knees on top of each other. You'll notice a stretch here in the right hip. Spine is long. You can rest your hands on your knee. Eyes closed or open. Take a supportive breath. Inhale. Exhale. Release. Opposite side, right foot on, or right knee onto the floor. That knee is in line with your belly button. Foot on the mat. You can remain here or stack your knees on top of each other. Left knee on top of your right knee. Lengthen your spine. Hands can rest on your knee. Shoulders are drawn down. Deep belly breath, eyes open or closed. If your eyes are open, make sure to keep your gaze steady. We're working on our physical body, emotional body, and our mental bodies. A steady gaze is a focused mind. One more breath. And release. Come to sit in that cross-legged position. Lengthen your spine. As we did in the beginning of class, shoulders up towards your ears, draw them down. Just 2 more times here. Shoulders up and back. And now shoulders up and forward. About 3 rounds of that. Start to drop your chin towards your chest and then roll your head from one shoulder to the next. I recommend lingering in any point that feels a little sore or tense. Now, as we move throughout our day, we tend to crunch up around neck and shoulders, especially when we're busy, less aware of our bodies. So take a moment here to take care of neck and shoulders. Or even affecting the mid-back, upper back. A few more breaths. Take a comfortable breath. Head comes back to neutral. Seated meditation here. A few breath cycles. Notice your breath without judgment. If you have trouble concentrating, lengthen your inhale and exhale a little longer than you're accustomed to. Inhale. And exhale. Release. Your eyes are closed. Open your eyes. Inhale, let's lift our arms up overhead, palms up, round our spine, tuck our chin towards our chest, hold. And release. Let's lengthen our legs out. We're going to drop our elbows onto the mat. Now, our goal is to drop our head all the way back. But know that as you're dropping your head back, you're simultaneously lifting your core, your abdomen up towards the ceiling for extra support. Drop your head back, opening the throat, your shoulders cradle your head, your neck, and hold. Perhaps bringing your shoulder blades closer together. Abdomen lifts up towards the ceiling. And then release. Lengthen your arms, drop your head back. Soften the tailbone onto the floor, little mini 3-breath Shavasana here. Let's together inhale here, exhale, side out. Inhale. Exhale. Welcome your breath. Exhale. You'll start to bend that right knee. Grab your knee with your hands, round your spine, forehead up towards your knee, and then drop your head back a few times at your own pace. See if you can flex that left foot towards the front. Keep that left leg active. One more round, lifting forehead up towards your knee, drop your head back. Opposite side, bend your left knee, flex your right foot, Lift your forehead up towards your knee, drop your head back a few times at your own pace. You're paying attention to your lower back, mid back, upper back. Core is active. You're pressing that right foot towards the front, keeping that leg active. On the next round, hold. Holding the pose, you're not holding your breath. Forehead towards knee, releasing any tension throughout the upper back neck. Activating that core strength, release. Bend both knees. We're going to drop our knees towards the right. We're shifting into a twist. Knees towards the right, drop your head towards the left. So you want to make sure your knees and your head are facing opposite directions to get the full benefit of that twist. Your arms are to a T. Your body is relaxed on the mat, but scan your body. Notice if there's any pockets where you're holding onto some tension or you're lifting your body up where you don't need to. So you're scanning your neck down the spine, hips to the knees. You can imagine those knees melting further towards the floor. Now in our twists, it's more difficult to take those deep breaths, so just find a comfortable breath. Soften into the pose. Twists or poses that take care of our spine. That release the lower back, mid back, upper back, and very subtle and soft ways. And now knees, come back to center. Drop your knees towards the left. Drop your head towards the right. Once more, head and knees facing opposite direction. Arms at a T. Scanning neck down the spine, hips and knees. Seeing where can you soften just 10% further. Invite a comfortable breath. Take one more comfortable breath here. Inhale, exhale. Bring your knees back to center and then grab your feet with your hands. Get that final stretch throughout the length of your legs and back. You can bend both knees generously or lengthen one leg more than the other or both at the same time. You can rock to the left and to the right for massage in your lower back and your mid back. You want to make sure you're pointing your toes, opening heels and toes and ankles, stretching down the calves and hamstrings, glutes and hips, getting any other release around the lower back or mid back. Take a breath and start to release the pose into your final resting pose, your Shavasana. Legs are long, backs of the hands are on the floor, framing your hips, palms up towards the ceiling. Back of the head is on the mat. This is a pose that teaches us the wisdom of doing nothing, of being still. Notice that there's a lot going on when we're still and not moving. Physically, mentally, emotionally, we're releasing, letting go, receiving, integrating. Take this as an opportunity to practice non-judgment, noticing any thoughts, any sensations that arise without judgment of doing something correctly or incorrectly. Feel free to take some purposeful deep breaths or go back to your breath's regular rhythm where you're not really controlling the breath or paying particular attention to the breath. You can approach your Savasana in either way with your breath. Do soften the back of the neck, perhaps back of the head and neck, perhaps noticing or imagining your head drift further into the mat. Feel yourself supported by the ground, backs of the arms, backs of the hands on the mat, supported by the ground, fingertips light, almost imagining them float. Notice if you're holding your body up in any way throughout the length of your back. Soften the upper back, mid back, lower back, down towards the mat, towards the ground. Notice any release around the tailbone, hips, behind your knees, down your calves, ankles, and toes. You'll start to shift your attention back to your breath, inviting a generous and leisurely inhale and exhale. Noticing your senses here, you can move your fingertips and toes. You have the option of inviting a full body stretch, lifting your arms up overhead, interlacing your fingers, pointing your toes, perhaps lifting your abdomen up towards the ceiling. Or you can turn your body to the side, allowing it to remain heavy and relaxed. Invite a generous breath. Once you've taken a breath or two, start to make your way up to your seat on your ankles as I'm demonstrating, or cross-legged. Congratulate yourself for being dedicated to renewal physically, mentally, emotionally. We'll seal the class with an intentional breath. Take your hands in front of your heart center, and we'll take a breath of gratitude here, inhaling and exhaling. And in the tradition of yoga, the highest in me sees the highest in you. Namaste.